Have you ever been to an escape room? It's actually quite fun unless it's about life or death. In this video we follow their characters, highlight their weaknesses and decide on better tactics to survive and ultimately beat the game masters in Now the goal is to have everyone survive, which by the way is entirely possible. Now at the beginning of the movie we witnessed 3 of the participants receiving a package containing a black cube, which turns out to be a puzzle. Once they solve it, possible through multiple ways, they find a ticket in it. I find it quite interesting to see the differences in temperament of each character. While Zoe is utterly intrigued by solving it, Jason is just annoyed and wants to get what's inside. And Ben, well, Ben does it his way, I guess. All the packages were sent from people they know and respect in one way or another. Zoe's, for instance, was sent by her professor and Jason's by one of his clients. This is a small but crucial aspect as it evokes our protagonist's trust, and therefore anything that might be weird about receiving such package is completely justified. Once the box opens, each one receives an invitation in form of a ticket. Minus escape room is the sender, and they have just been invited to participate in an escape room to win $10,000. Now as everyone assembles in the waiting room, we get to meet the other protagonists. After everyone introduces themselves, it is safe to say that all the characters have different motivations to participate. While Amanda, Mike and Ben are in it for the money, Zoe seems to participate for the sake of solving tricky questions. Who would have thought? And while Jason seems to be in it for the sake of winning, Danny, well, Danny is just being Danny, I guess. Got to love this character though. Since the game hasn't started and everyone is waiting, Ben tries to leave the room for a cigarette, just to realize the game has already begun. Now as a quick side note, and something many explain videos have actually missed, the room was designed in a way that triggers the start of the game by leaving the room itself, implying nothing would have happened as long as no one tries to leave. But everyone would leave at some point, if nothing happens. Pretty clever design. Now as everyone starts looking around for clues, the room starts to heat up. They eventually find the last piece of the puzzle and manage to escape to the next room before the last one gets covered in flames. I don't want to go into full detail here as everyone survives and there is not much else to figure out here. As they barely make it to the second room, Amanda attempts to send out a message with Danny's phone, but fails as there is no available connection. Jason finds a key and Ben figures out the 7-digit code needed to unlock the cabin. While they step outside and search for clues, Danny unknowingly activates an AC system that chills the cold room even further, which is less than ideal in a room where the temperature is already below the freezing point. To be precise here, hypothermia is no joke and can be deadly. It hits when the body loses heat faster than it can produce and the body temperature falls below 35 degrees Celsius or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. In a sub-zero environment with chill winds, this can happen within minutes. Our protagonists do not have much time left until death arrives. While looking for hints, they find the following items: 1 winter jacket, a fishing rod, a magnet, and an ice fishing hole. I think there is no need to elaborate on the use of those items as it's very obvious. While they go fishing, Danny breaks through the ice and dies. With him goes the phone and the lighter, which is just the tip of the iceberg. No pun intended here. Anyway, they use the given tools and find a solid block of ice with a key in the middle of it. The attempt to melt the block of ice with their bare hands wouldn't even come to my mind. It seemed a little odd, especially considering their circumstances and serious lack of time. So before we save Danny, let's sum it up real quick. The temperature is sub-zero and falling, plus there is chilly wind. They lack warm clothing and have to somehow get the key in a massive block of ice, plus they face serious threats of hypothermia. Let's see how we save Danny. When Danny broke through the ice, Amanda volunteered to save him. As a veteran, it's safe to assume she knows how to evaluate dangerous situations and how to rescue other people. However, Jason's concerns were also appropriate. Diving into a frozen lake without proper safety measurements could easily result in her death. So how can we save Danny while not risking to sacrifice Amanda? Well, why not use the fishing rod? Tied around the torso or leg of Amanda while she goes looking for Danny would have minimized her risk to die. Furthermore, the trace of the rod appeared to be made out of metal, which ensures durability, an important aspect for a task like this. If they could come up with this idea in time and quickly act on it, I think we can assume Danny would have survived. All the tools necessary for this rescue were available. But let's go back to the ice block. Even if Danny survives, the lighter would have been no help after taking a dip in the lake. Surely we do have another pair of hands available to melt the ice block, but this solution is just not my cup of tea. Melting a block of ice of this size would take the better half of an hour. At this point in the movie, the thermometer showed 0 Fahrenheit, or below 17 degrees Celsius, which goes without saying is pretty cold. It's simply not a sustainable idea to get the key that way. The first idea to smash the block against a tree, which didn't work, was nevertheless a good try. But let's assume all those were fake and they can't use them to break through the ice. Is there still a chance to get the key faster? Well, I think so. Remember the wire fishing trace? Let's use that one to saw through the ice. Surely, we do need to overcome the metal frame first, but once there, nothing stays in between anymore. The solution in an ideal world, of course, would have been that everyone stays in the cabin while only one looks for clues. With one available winter jacket, time would have been no problem. Amanda, again as a war veteran, would have been a perfect candidate for such task. If by any chance she would have activated the AC the same way as Danny did, and all the doors and windows of the cabin would close down, then there wouldn't be no problem at all. Everyone who stayed in the cabin can just break the windows from the inside and let her in. Once she would have returned with the icebox, they could have just melted it cozy next to the fireplace. Also, in an ideal world, they would have realized that even though they didn't have mobile connection in the beginning of this chapter, they did have slight 4G connection, giving rise to the chance of reaching out through internet-based chat services. Perhaps they could have beat the game masters already at this point. But off to the next chapter. Danny is safe and we are excited for him to see the next room. He'll be geeking out for sure. This room was one of my favorites, even though Amanda's death was completely unnecessary, and I'll get to that. But I just love the retro vibes. As a quick reference point, many of you perhaps remember that in earlier days you couldn't receive or make a call with the same telephone line your internet was connected to. Meaning every time someone tried to call you while you were browsing the internet, they would hear the infamous dial-up signal instead. On the contrary, if you made a phone call, your internet connection would disconnect, which could be very frustrating at times. But anyway, the movie seems to make a cross-reference in that regard. Every time the signal appears, the floor would lose another part, a connection to get across. While I'm sure the props team of the movie had mad fun designing this set, the script writers could have implemented their ideas a little bit more in depth. Now, the room design is pretty straightforward. Everything is upside down, the floor falls off every time the signal appears, so in order to escape, our protagonist must get a hold on the bars fixated on the walls, which look like they were intended for this use. They seem to go around the whole room, and there are multiple other properties that seem to be intended for similar use if things were to get intense. As everyone saves themselves by grabbing the bars on the walls, Amanda makes her way up to the upside down bar and finds a safe. They require a 4-digit code, which they figure out quickly by solving the giant sliding puzzle on the wall. Amanda secures an 8-ball from the safe, which appears to be the key to enter the next room. While all of our protagonists are already in the corner where the door is located, Amanda has yet to get over there. Well, I admire your strength, Amanda, but I think it's the wrong timing for a workout. Why not take the same way Jason used before? There was absolutely no need to risk your life so unnecessary. And instead of encouraging her to jump, one should have just told her to take the freaking way along the side. Jesus Christ. And boom, Amanda survives. And there you go, friends. That's how you do it. Our protagonists enter the next room, but I at this point just wonder how big is this place really? I mean, originally Amanda fell for about 4 seconds into darkness. That's 4 seconds of free fall. If we use our brains efficiently, we must conclude that they are in a 76-meter tall building. So they have started in a waiting room, which led to a cabin in Narnia, and then entered what seemed to be a high-rise building. Seems like those game masters have some serious funding. What's coming next? This room is a hospital ward with a bed for each character. They quickly realize that each one of them has a similar backstory. Everyone has solely survived a tragic event in the past. All the previous hints and flashbacks are explained, and they understand that each room was designed in relation to their individual pasts. As they realize this, in pure Saw fashion, a TV turns on displaying a timer running down from 5 minutes to 0. At 0, the room will be flooded with carbon monoxide. There really are three things that make carbon monoxide so dangerous. First, the molecules of the gas are so small they can easily travel through objects like dry walls. Secondly, carbon monoxide mixes with air, causing it to neither rise nor fall, making an escape virtually impossible. Lastly, it's undetectable unless you use technology. It's a really sneaky gas. According to a study done by Dr. Thomas Steiner from the University of Iowa, if the concentration is exceptionally high, a fatal carbon monoxide poisoning can happen in as little as 5 minutes. So Zoe's attempt to break the window is actually completely justifiable, as it would give them the opportunity to breathe oxygen-rich air and delay the concentration of the gas. But why does she try to break all the cameras? Well, this is a genius idea, and we'll come back to this later since this is the only room with a chance of surviving the escape room. While Zoe goes seemingly mad, Jason manipulates Mike into death, which too was completely avoidable, especially if Zoe had elaborated her plan clearer, but I guess she couldn't, and I'll explain later why. As the clock strikes 0, everyone gets poisoned. Ben and Jason just barely make it to the next room, while Zoe stays and loses consciousness. Now, while I still refuse to believe that this was actual DMT, it was still pretty amusing. Now, the fight that broke out over who gets to use the only antidote available, however, was not necessary. The effects of the drugs would have not lasted for more than a few hours, and they could have just shared the antidote so both could at least reduce the effects of the hallucinogen. Even if we assumed that everyone would survive this and the last room, where Ben only saves himself by hiding in the fireplace, it is still highly likely that the game masters wouldn't keep them alive. So there is really only one chance for each character to survive, and this chance lies in room number 4. In room 4, Zoe realizes that even if they should make it to the finish line, they will get killed nevertheless. And it makes total sense. It's a logical assessment, because it simply would not be possible for the game master to sustain his business if he lets any participants escape. Imagine the difficulties containing the spread of such news after every escape room. It's just not possible. But let's talk about Zoe's plan first, why it failed and how we could have done better and save everyone. Her idea was to exploit the heavy reliance of the game master on the surveillance cameras. Since room 4 was bound to get flooded by poisonous gas, everyone in it would die. If the cameras are destroyed, however, there would be no way to tell if the people in it are dead or alive. But if you can't observe anyone escaping the poisonous room by looking at the cameras of the last and next room, you must conclude that the characters must be dead. Naturally, at some point someone must enter the room to get rid of the dead bodies. Therefore, the plan is to fake your death and overpower those who eventually enter, just like Zoe did in the movie. But could she have done better? I think yes. You see, Zoe fails to communicate her plan to the other characters. I guess she was afraid that if she told everyone, the game master would have overheard it and therefore intervened. So the only possibility here is she needs to get her point across without being too verbal about it. And this is absolutely possible, especially in a huge room like this. So if everyone is on board and the cameras are destroyed, how do you manage to stay alive while being locked in a carbon monoxide filled room? Well, the answer to that is you share the available oxygen mask, just like divers share their oxygen tank underwater when necessary. Now I get it, sharing oxygen with 5 other people is dangerous and even just a few minutes could feel like hours. So destroying some of the windows would be a great solution to survive. The glass looks thin enough to break, and it looks like direct sunlight hits the glass from the other side, promising fresh air if the glass is overcome. With heavy objects like the computer monitors, there is no doubt that it is possible to break the windows, especially when you're 6 people, of which 4 are men and the others are 2 badass women. Now what happens next, obvious, is they overpower the game master altogether, just like Zoe did solo in the movie. Then they meet the last boss of the game, the head game master, overpower him too, and celebrate complete victory. The police has no chance in denying the story, and our heroes would enjoy coffee together other than just 2 of them. And there you have it. Survival would have been possible for each member of the group. If you think you could have outsmarted the game master better than I did, consider leaving a comment with your thoughts. If you liked the video, a like and subscribe would be great. We post weekly. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.